But I never wanted this book to be simply an exercise in spiritual archaeology, because it was very clear to me that when you look at what these people were trying to do or say, their thoughts would be a critique of the way we're religious today. Because it often seems to me that in our various religious institutions, we're producing exactly the kind of spirituality that people like the Buddha wanted to get rid of. And number one on the list, for example, is what is religion is not about belief. It's not about philosophy. It's not about metaphysics. This obsession with intellectual conformity has been a very peculiar obsession of Western Christianity. The word faith, we generally equate these days with belief, accepting certain propositions of the creed. And when we talk about religious people, we often call them believers, as though believing things was the main activity that they took part in. But the word belief in English, in Middle English, originally was beleven. It meant to love. And credo, I believe, in Latin, probably comes from cordo, to give your heart, to commit yourself. In the Greek, pistis means trust, rather than accepting certain metaphysical issues. And we've made religious life very difficult for ourselves by forcing people or making people feel they have to accept certain rather abstruse theological abstractions, and that this is the essence of the religious life. Religion is basically about doing things, behaving in a way that changes you at a profound level, not about accepting certain religious opinions. You see this thread running right the way through the period of the axial age. The Buddha, for example, had no time for metaphysics. As far as he was concerned, religion was about the practice of compassion and the relinquishment of egotism and selfishness by means of yoga. And I'll be talking about that more later, yoga, later this week. But a person's theological opinions were a matter of total indifference to him. He once had a monk who was of a metaphysical turn of mind, and instead of getting on with his yoga and his ethical practice, he was pestering the Buddha continually about whether there was a God, whether the world had been created in time, or whether it had always existed. And the Buddha told him that he was like a man who'd been shot with a poisoned arrow, but who refused to have any medical treatment until he found out the name of the person who'd shot him and what village he came from. You'll die, the Buddha said, before you get this perfectly pointless information. Supposing, he said, and here I'm paraphrasing the Buddhist scriptures a bit, supposing we did manage to find out once and for all who created the world and how he did it. Grief, pain, suffering, cruelty, despair, mortality, old age, sickness would still exist. What difference will it make to you? The reason we're not discussing these things, O monks, they're fascinating questions, the Buddha said. We could while away many happy hours discussing these questions, but why am I not talking to you about these things? Because they won't